Hello, welcome to LC Screen Talk. My name is Larry, and this is my review of Dear White People. I love films that have something to say, especially about big social problems in our society. And a topic that I am always ready to talk about and ready to learn more about and engage about is racial relations in the United States. So, when I saw the ad campaign for Dear White People, I was instantly intrigued and ready to hand over my money to get a ticket for this show. So, did it live up to my expectations? Well, it did, and that's going to lead us right into the positives of the film. The subject matter of the film itself, racism and the racial relations between black and white people in the U.S., is such a pertinent subject, and it directly calls out and tackles the myth that racism is dead in the U.S. And I'm glad that a movie had the goal to blatantly say it, to come out and focus on racism here in this country in 2014. But going deeper than just the topic itself, this film is very multifaceted, and it presents multiple viewpoints on the issue of race relations. Now, this is told from the perspective of a black American, so you are getting that viewpoint primarily throughout. However, how we go about handling racial relations from that viewpoint, there are several. Of course, from the marketing and the advertising, we see the very, Black Panther-esque, Malcolm X, in-your-face way of tackling racial relations. But that's definitely not the only method presented in the film. And that's a big driving point about the film. Do you just accept what it is and try to blend into the culture? Do you openly defy it? And or you take a more diplomatic approach? Do you take a more passive approach? What is it that you stand for, and how do you go about representing yourself in that stance? And that's really what this movie is all about, is just, this is a problem, there's so many ways to handle it, and each of these ways has their problems, has their challengers, and they have their downfalls. And it also shows that just because somebody is handling it this way on the surface doesn't mean they don't have a background that leads to the reason they've chosen to act the way they do. And that's definitely the case for our lead character. She starts very abrasive, and she keeps that really abrasive attitude and mentality through most of the film. And she makes the audience kind of turn against her in some ways, because she's just so radical in the way she acts with her Black Student Union members. And I think what the film does right is it humanizes her. And a lot of credit needs to go to Tessa Thompson, who plays the character in the film, for really making her feel like an actual person. Not just this crazy black activist and she's gonna take it to the white man. No, she has pain. She is somebody underneath of that. And she's just fighting her own demons, and the way to fight her demons is to put on this front. And I thought that was a really powerful message and something really interesting to unveil as the film went along. The other performance I thought was really great came from Tyler James Williams. You might know him from Everybody Hates Chris, but he played a great character, and he really depicted him well. A little bit dramatic at some points, but it really added to the comic relief. And there are a lot of funny moments. So it tackles a serious issue, and a lot of it is very abrasive and in your face, but there are so many funny moments, even some that maybe you think I shouldn't be laughing at this, but you do, because they just present it in a very funny way, and a way that keeps the film lighthearted and moving along. But as I was saying, this film is multifaceted, not only in the fact that it presents different ways to handle race relations, it also delves more into what racial relations look like within the Black community themselves. So, one thing that I really enjoyed was that Tyler James Williams' character was a gay male, and it really talked a lot about how he felt and interacted within his own community and the homophobia that still exists there. So, it did a little bit of tackling of a different minority issue within a racial relations issue, and I thought that was great. It also touched on the light skin versus dark skin issue, the natural hair versus synthetic hair issue, and the way that media portrays black culture and whether that's good for the culture or whether it's a harm to the culture. So these are all debates that happen all the time on boards, in discussions, at diversity conferences. So they were really interesting to see put into the film and explored. What this film does great is start a discussion. And I think you don't leave the film leaving apathetic. You're either outraged at something, you're motivated to make change, or something. I think you have to leave feeling something when you leave a movie like this, and the film does its job. It made me feel something, and part of the reason why I felt something was it culminates. This film has a storyline. It's not just preaching in your face. It has a storyline, and the conflict culminates in this party that is a black party. So people came in full out blackface, the chicken, the watermelon, all the stereotypes you can think of, just this black culture party. And while I was watching it, I just got really angry, and it was uncomfortable for me to even watch it on the screen. I was like, oh my gosh, it was so unreal to me. And it even ran through my head that this is an exaggerated way for them to make their point, is to go all out with this. Then, during the end credits, the film shows actual cases and news reports of universities that had parties like this, where students came out in blackface. They went completely and totally beyond just appropriating black culture to mocking it. And that was just really unreal to me. And of course, we've had so many racial relation headline news cases over the past few years, most of them dealing with neighborhood watch and police brutality, but we don't get to see all of these cases of, students thinking that having black parties is okay. And it just really blew my mind and infuriated me that, again, this is not making headline news. It's alarming to me, and this film really just brought it to the light. So if there's anything that it does right, stay for the end credits. But, of course, the film is not perfect, so what does it not get quite so right? So, while the title, Dear White People, and even the marketing campaign reflect one of the viewpoints within the film, I think it's a little too abrasive, and it's going to turn white audiences off. And that's ultimately a downfall to this film, because they are pushing an audience that I think really should see the film and that they want to reach out to and want to have see this film. They're pushing them away and saying, this is not for you, this is not you're not part of our club, and you're not part of the community we're about here. And honestly, just even the title, Dear White People, sends off the connotation of, we're going to preach at you about what it is you're doing wrong, or so forth and so on. And I think that's not really what people are looking for when they go to the movies, is to be preached at and to be told you're a bad person or you're racist or this or that. So I think that the whole packaging has made it unattainable to white audiences, when the movie itself is not unattainable to white audiences. It's a very well-rounded, well-executed film that just starts a discussion. But you can't start a discussion when you're excluding so many of the people that you need to be talking with. So I think right off the bat, the marketing and the title already put the film at a disadvantage, and unfortunately are discouraging people from seeing a really good movie. But as for the movie itself, I think all of the performances really outside of the two that I mentioned are very meh. Some of them were kind of bad. And at best, they were good, but just not very memorable. Some of the writing was also kind of meh. Most of it was really sophisticated and snappy, but sometimes it went into melodramatic territory, and we had, you know, the liberties of drama added in for the personal lives of our characters, you know. Oh, is she cheating on him, and he just happened to be right here at the right place, at the right time, and all of those type of liberties were also taken. There were also really awkward pauses in romance scenes or like dialogue scenes that got on my nerves. The other people I went with didn't seem to really notice too much, but I noticed it and didn't like it. So there was just kind of sloppy edges and sloppy writing throughout the film that also brought it down a little bit for me. But overall, I definitely recommend this film. It's another movie that just needs to be seen. It's well executed, as I said. I loved the use of classical music throughout. I thought it was great. It added to the prestige of the university and the whole feeling behind that. And it also really touches on class quite a bit. So overall, the film is an important movie that people need to see, that we need to realize, and I hope that you don't let abrasive marketing deter you, because it is not a preachy movie. It's a well-rounded, discussional piece that you will leave feeling something, and I think it is a good film that accomplishes its goal. So, that has been my review of Dear White People. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, go ahead and click like down below and subscribe to my channel while you're at it, so you're always up to date on our latest videos. I love you all so much for your support. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.